King Charles red portrait. Okay, here we go. You can buy it on eBay. You're tripping. You can buy it on eBay. No way. Okay, so this is either true or it's not. So I'm going to do it and find out if it's true before I show you the video, and then we'll look at the video and see if it's true. But I need to do this. I need to do it on my brain. I need to do it. So I'm going to take a screenshot of this, the thing. I'm assuming this is the reality of it, yeah? That's the thing. It doesn't look the same to me as what they did. It doesn't look the same already. I think there's differences already. Maybe they fucked with the colours. But what I need to do now is I need to open up Paint. Stop making that dinging noise. What's that? It's a battery dinging against a can of Coke. Screenshots. Open with Paint. You should be able to see it. There it is. Yeah, bang. Okay, let's turn this off. Right. So this is you know what this is. Wait, I've moved it. I'm an idiot. Get it. Find it for me. Which Windows Paint? I don't know which Windows Paint. There it is. That is it. Right. It needs to be underneath my face. Go underneath my face. There's that. Right. What they did was edit, file, selection, select all. Have you seen this already? Have you seen it? Edit, copy, right? Paste it in. Which way did it go? It's got to be this one. It's got. Hang on, wait. Okay, edit, undo that because you can't see it. Right, I need to open this out so it's bigger so you can see it like that. Right. Hang on, wait, no. Edit, undo that. This is going to confuse everyone, but I'll get it. Right, I need to turn this upside down. That's one thing I need to do. I need to turn it upside down, that's for sure. Okay, and then it's going to be over here. Like this. Yeah, it's definitely this. And then I need to edit, paste. And then this one, I'm going to need to turn this one upside down. Like that. But then I'm also going to need to flip it. Like that. And then you put the two together. That's what it is. That's what you're supposed to do. This is what they said on the internet. This is what they said on the internet. It's been debunked and isn't real. Really? It's a fake, that tweet. Well, I'm doing it now to find out. It's supposed to be the devil, innit? It's supposed to be the devil. Where's the devil? I'm glad I didn't just look at the tweet and just agree and assume it was and retweet it. Because I could have done that, couldn't I? But I thought I was going to bring it on the show and I was going to say, have you seen this? And then I thought, before I do, I better do it to see if it is. And we've seen it and we've debunked. Isn't it? Well, there it is. Anyway, we'll come back to that. Let's show you the tweet then. Let's try and find the tweet. Debunked. Google King Charles red portrait. And what was it? Baphomet. These nutters on the internet are fucking nuts, aren't they, these days? Where's the video? This one's a Facebook video, 8 minutes 30. I just want the Twitch one because it'll be quick. Twitch. Fuck. I saw it on Twitch. Did I? Oh, wait. Maybe I not Twitch, Twitter. Maybe I screenshotted it or bookmarked it. Hang on. Where's my more bookmarks? Bookmarks. I might have bookmarked it. Yes, I bookmarked it. And I know it's from one of these fucking nutters as well. Like, these nutters that do these posts are nutters. Like Nikola Tesla, this one. I follow them on the old Twitter, and they're a nutter. Nikola Tesla, this one. Like, they think about the free energy and all this. Look, so there it is, look.
Baphomet figure, or the goat head and the horns.
Now, I did notice the colours look different already. Like, there's definitely a difference in the colour. They've done something with the colours, like they've knocked up the contrast and everything.
In the middle, when you mirror these two portraits together.
But they put them together and that fucking looks like the devil. Like, it really looks like the devil.
And it's funny that they used red, because
they used red because the devil.
Red symbolises low states of consciousness.
It symbolises low states of consciousness. No, it doesn't. It's the devil. Red doesn't symbolise low states of consciousness.
It's the lowest vibrational colour.
It's the lowest vibrational colour.
It symbolises emotion.
Well, it's not the lowest vibrational colour. It's the lowest... What do you mean the lowest vibrational colour? Colour spectrum... as a line, put it as a line. So it's in the visible spectrum of light. Yeah, in the visible spectrum of light, the wavelengths get longer, don't they, for red and shorter for violet. And you stop seeing red, I agree with that. Like, red's the last thing you see before you don't see any more colours. But there's infrared. It's just you don't see it. It exists. Animals see it. And there's ultraviolet as well. So you mean, like, the frequency of the red is one of the lower frequencies? In, like, like, they get confused about what frequency means and the way it's used in physics, don't they? In some ways, and they use that confusion to just fuel this like weird like idea. But yeah, okay, red is the lowest vibrational color
over the mind, the lower self. So let me know what you guys think. Is
so
this
that's
a coincidence?
And there it is. So let's just see it again. There it is, right? That's the devil. You can see his little nose. He looks like a dog or some shit. There's his horns on top. Got it, yeah? Right, let's go back to PC Paint and what we've just done with the actual thing. Where's the fucking devil? Oh, okay. What they've done. What they've done. Edit, paste. There it is again, yeah? Let's flip it upside down. How'd you do that? Flip it upside down and then flip it round again. And what they've done is they've sucked this bit. Oh, no, not like that. Okay, I shouldn't have done that. They've cut it. And they've cut it short. There's his eye there. Like, they've missed out the middle bit. They don't want the middle bit, do they? That middle bit's no good for them. So they've cut it there. That middle bit, that middle section doesn't look like the devil's face. They've cut it and they've just moved that along until it does look like the devil's face, but they've missed out a big chunk of it in the middle. But that does look like the devil's face now, but not if you just flip it and invert it. They've cut out the middle there. So that now does look quite a lot like the devil's face. Well, I say the devil's face. It's red, it's weird, and it's got like dog head. I like the horns aren't really horns, they're hands. Like, okay, it's weird and shit, but you can see the shoulders as well. It could just be, you know, the way people make faces out of clouds. Like, we'd have to investigate the artist more, but it's not an exact mirror image. The exact mirror image doesn't work. You have to crop a bit out the middle and squash it over more. So 50-50 still. You know, I'm sure if we took most things and you cut them enough and moved them about enough, you could start making pictures. But that doesn't mean that they're designed into the picture. Like, just a mirror image, I'd have said, whoa, the mirror image here, that's a bit of a thing. Because you could paint with the mirror up there and you could do it. But why would you miss that chunk? On the other hand, to tell you something else, right? There's a butterfly in the image. And people have questioned the butterfly. Big ups, Rosie. Are you young, are you? Big ups. I don't use words like Riz and Gat. Skibbidy's an MC. So I don't use those words. But yeah, this whole thing is legit in there if you move it around and cut it up enough. So I was saying the butterfly. And maybe John Wedge is trying to interrupt me now because, like, you know, maybe John Wedge is getting worried about this. Oh, we should put the music on. Wait. We should put the music on for this.
Young Wedalukeli Peter falling Jim from Coronation Street. Ye assembled masons, I bring you. Big up Eamon Holmes, big up Eamon Holmes, big up Eamon Holmes, big up Eamon Holmes. Ho, 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 yeah. Ho, 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 yeah. Ho, 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 yeah. Big up Eamon Holmes, 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 big up Eamon Holmes. Oh, 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 yeah.
Right, so we do have problems, right? Listen, we do have problems because there's a butterfly in the image and people have questioned the butterfly. The artist I've seen quoted in the media as saying it represents King Charles the environmentalist. Okay? Like, he's known as the Green King for that reason. Why did you paint him in red? But yeah, like, okay. The choice of red is, it's an artistic choice. It's very interesting. It's a very strong, interesting colour choice, but it is representative of the devil to many cultures and, to our norms. And it's not representative of regal. Like, regal colour is purple. King Charles, if you're referencing that nature thing, maybe the Green King. Like, it's a strange, like pinky red as well. It's a strange choice in that way. That image is in there if you squash it together, if you cut out that middle bit and reflect it. So the butterfly's in there, and the issue I've got, like I'm going to say, is the butterfly has these parallel wings, doesn't it? Right? The butterfly has parallel wings. So if I just undo what we did and just shift it across back to where it was, right? The butterfly has these wings, and in the middle it has a body. And in this image, like before I cut out the middle, I thought like that looks a bit fluffy down the bottom there, and at the top maybe it looks a bit like a pair of antennae or something. Like, could that look like the butterfly body in the middle? And are these the wings on either side? And so if you remove the wings from the butterfly, remove the center of the butterfly, the body, and put the wings together, then you get the mirror image. Like, maybe that's like, it's sort of hinted at in the picture almost, isn't it? The butterfly. Right? And then it strikes me, and I'm just talking. But I know that we said this has been debunked, but I just rebunked it, I guess, because it does fit together and it does do that. So let's just get rid of that for a second. So let me find this as an example. I can't remember what they're called. Let's ask ChatGPT. This should help. GPT-4 smarter. Go on then. Okay. I want to know, there was a style of painting in the British was it the British Civil War? Or related to Christian persecution, whereby a polished mirrored cylinder would be placed at the center of the painting to reveal the image. The painting would look like, what are they called when they hold those things? A palette. They would look like a messy palette. Can you please give me some examples of works like this? The style of painting is anamorphosis. Okay, thank you. Look, this is actually really fucking good. It's better than Google. Don't worry about the Christian shit. Right, let's just show you that. What's this? 1533. This will be a great one. Oh, it's oblique anamorphosis. Okay, no thanks. Perspective anamorphosis, cylindrical anamorphosis. Let's find this one. There are numerous examples from the 17th and 18th centuries that involve religious and allegorical themes where the mirrored cylinder reveals image. Yeah. They're the ones I want. The British Civil War, Christian. No, I want these ones. Copy this. Please give me 3 good examples of the This is exactly what I want. King Charles I. What the fuck was I saying? You can get fucked. Like they said, there aren't many good examples of ones from the British Civil War. Like, unfortunately, specific examples directly related to the British Civil War are not well documented. Yeah, well, here's one. So it's not perfect because this is one from the British Civil War. King Charles I, anamorphic portrait. This is where I learned about it. Okay, let's try and get this. Copy. Google. It's interesting it's the king, isn't it? It's interesting it's King Charles. Oh, no. Okay. Hang on, wait. So, maybe this isn't exactly what I'm talking about. It's all stretched out. You need to put it around a pipe to look at it. This isn't a very good example. It's not the Puzzle Museum. That's not what I'm looking for. Cylindrical. I want a cylindrical one. Cylindrical. Maybe I'm tripping about the Prince Charles aspect of it. No, it's this cylindrical. Come on, it'll be this, won't it? Henrik Adriansen's portrait. Let's have a look. Come on, somebody please. Henrik Andriansen's. Come on, Google now. It's annoying me now. He wasn't around when King Charles I was around anyway. This is tripping me out. Just all I want to do is just show the people a fucking good example of an anamorphic chuffing cylindrical anamorphic. Oh, just Google that. Just Google that. Hang on. Cylindrical anamorphic paintings. Let's just Google that and then no, let's do a video if you've got one. Thank you.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Genie Crafts. So today's video, as you can see that the template is quite distorted. You can make out some of the facial features, but you cannot actually make out who it is, and that will be revealed only when you will put the mirror in this area. So this is the radius of the cylindrical mirror that should be. So I'm going.
You think I look like King Charles I? Oh wait, because we just saw a picture. I was going to say, how do you know what he looks like? But we just saw a picture of him, didn't we? Right. I was a royalist when I was at school. We did the Roundheads and the Cavaliers, and I was like, well up to King Charles I. I was like, I want to be a royalist. They were supposed to be Cavaliers. We went to the Sealed Knot and everyone was a Cavalier. I dressed as a royalist. I was like, you can't murder the king. He's a fucking divine right to be the king. What are you doing? You think I look like King Charles I? Fair enough. Maybe. Might have a bit of the old royal blood in me, a bit of knob and nobility. Hey. Maybe. I mean, they cut off his head, didn't they? So it's bad, maybe. For him, anyway.
Going to make it using a reflective vinyl later on. I'll show.
What do you want me to look at in chat, Red Fan? Big ups, Red Fan. There's a butterfly called a monarch. True that. Monarch programming, is that bad? there's anything that I've missed, then anyway, I'm sounding like Catweasel. No, look, this this style of painting, the reason they did it in the Civil War was because you weren't supposed to paint the king because then you're a bad royalist. But they wanted to have a picture of the king because they love the king. So they do these things so you can't see what the pictures are. It's to obfuscate it. But you can see the picture when you place the mirror on it. So finally, at the end of doing the drawing, you get something like this. And that can be on a design, what they would do is they would have a palette and it would have colour, like a painter's palette, like with a hole in it. And that's where you put the thing. And so it would look like just a mess of colour on the palette.
But then you will need to place the mirror in the center. Now,
but you get this.
For this experiment, I really didn't want to spend money on a cylindrical mirror.
Just put the fucking mirror in. Like, and when you put the mirror in, then it turns it into the picture, look. And you look at the picture in the mirror.
If you put the...
And because the mirror's curved, that writes the curving, doesn't it? It writes the image.
Cylindrical mirror at the right angle, then on how to create the template for such kind of portrait by subscribing to the Rising Genie membership.
So they would create these images when they were trying to hide something within an image that you weren't supposed to see, but they wanted to signal to other people that were on their team. Like literally, like for those reasons, it was a subversion of history. I'm going a bit deep on this now. Right, you might just have to take it from me that they did. Now, I learned things and I don't forget them, so I'm pretty sure like the reason I brought up the Prince Charles one was because like that was the I've explained. Hang on, painting. Here it is. I found it. Thank you very much, Leslie, for the 1,000 bitties. That was a big one. That was a big one. 1,000 bitties. Look at this. There it is in the National Museum. I'm not wrong. I'm fucking right. That's King Charles painted anamorphically, and it looks weird and stuff. And I think the reasoning, like I said, was because they would create these objects like this that could be in your house. When you place the lamp there, you see the painting. But without the lamp, it just looks like a table with colour messed on it. You could put a cloth over it or whatever. Like, even if they discover it, is it a painting of Prince Charles, you know, or the king, or whomever it is supposed to be, when you're being persecuted? And this is why I thought Christians might have done it in the past, because they were persecuted. But this was a way of, it was a clever way of having this art in your home and subverting the idea that you would have it. Like, that's where I think that comes from. By an unknown artist, that was. I wonder if there's any way that could confirm to me what I'm saying is correct. Obviously I want it confirmed to me, but like, do you know what I mean? I want to know that I'm not just making up the facts and that I'm telling you the truth, and that the reasons for these things were the right, you know. But it's interesting, isn't it very interesting that we're talking about Charles I and second, I suppose, in this context, because that's where I remember it from. And today we're talking about Charles II and the concept that this painting might contain that same anamorphosis. And there are other ones like this one, the ambassadors. Let's look at this. Let's quickly look at the ambassadors. So I remember this painting. I don't know if you know this. It came up in the artificial intelligence rundown, but I remember this. This painting is a really interesting painting for lots of reasons. I can't remember all about it off the top of my head, but I have heard someone talking about it. Where's my main frame? Should we turn it on Firefox? You might get a better view. You know, it's one of these paintings where there's all sorts of stuff going on, and it all means a lot of stuff. Like, there's a lot of meaning in all the stuff that's going on. You know, there's a lot of symbolism and stuff, yeah? So, like, we were talking about skulls earlier as well, isn't it? It's interesting we're talking about skulls, because, like, this painting's quite famous for the fact that, like, you look at it and you see these two fellas stood up there and all this stuff going on. You notice this thing down at the bottom, though. Like, you notice it, like this weird thing. And depending on where you stand in the room, I think that looks like a skull, or it might even look like a little dog, maybe. I think it looks like a skull. And you walk around the room and you see that, the perspective on the skull, like when you're stood at a different angle. Not that angle, you idiot. Show me the angle with the skull. Now you need to see the angle off it, don't you? There. This is from the Smithsonian, so they've done a tiny picture. And they've got a video about it. Brilliant. 6 minutes.
And in fact, within a short time after making...
Shut up.
Dressed more modestly in a fur cloak. But when you go to the right corner of the painting, crouch down a bit.
Or look at it in a...
So it's actually... Or you look at it in a mirror. And you see the skull.
At an angle. It's a human skull.
It's something that you can't see when you can see the other things in the painting, but it's something you can see when you don't see the other things in the painting.
Front and center in this painting, really, in a sense, the star of the painting, is this skull, which is a traditional symbol of death.
A memento mori.
A reminder of death. And that's a very common element that we see in paintings. But
I fucking love this video.
here, we have a painting that seemed for a moment to be celebrating these earthly achievements, and now seems to be...
Yeah, that's it. I remember this about it. Like, they put the skull, and it's all about these... Yeah, he's got all these items of the things they've done in their life, and the skulls at the bottom. Yeah, I think I might have seen this video.
undercutting it. If you look even more
Or maybe they say the
carefully,
same
in the
things.
extreme upper left corner of the painting, peeking out from behind the curtain, you can just make out a little sculpture of a crucifixion.
But then we have this question that goes back to whole.
So all this stuff is in paintings like this, right? I would think it's unlikely that you're going to be painting the king. I don't know. I would say unlikely, and not thinking about this sort of stuff. Like, this is the tradition and the, I'm talking about Charles I in the paint. Like, when they paint portraits, you know what I mean, don't you? They put all this weird shit in it, like a little picture of a black cat might mean that this had happened in their life, or this and that, and they put these little symbols and it means like stuff, and it's like, the way they're stood and all that. Like, there's a great history of it, isn't there? You all right in chat, are you? Isn't that Charles Brandon in the portrait? Probably. Symbolism in art back in the day, yeah. So, it's weird, isn't it, that, like, with all that exists already, you might just paint Charles and make him look snazzy, but you'd think you'd be an artist and a top artist and you're being asked to paint Charles. I don't know anything about the artist that's painting him. I'd have to look into that. But I think it's interesting that just the simple concept, if you said to me, you're going to paint a portrait of the king, I would probably say, well, what kind of harkening back to history and modernizing of this am I going to do? There are more than one portraits of the king. Like, there is more than one portrait of any given monarch, isn't there? Like, the Queen had a few. But my guess, it's that when you look at these, what are now considered like historic, back in the day, Edward was a modern king. He felt himself in the modern era. But even then, I wonder, is this full of symbolism as well? If we turn this upside down and move it together, are we going to find a devil head? Oh, I suppose I better try it. I suppose now what you've got to do is go through all of the royal portraiture and turn them upside down and move them around. But I'm a bit. What's the word? Let's bring it up again. Where's it gone? There it is. Knowing that. Let's push it back together like that. Like, knowing that I was able to pull that thread and say, right, there's a butterfly, the wings, the space, the piece in the middle, put them in together. There it is. The symbolism in other paintings, the anamorphosis in other paintings, the fact that it's held a tradition with the royals, the fact that it literally, Charles's paintings, is something that, of all the monarchs that there have been in the UK, Charles was forced to have anamorphic paintings of him made because he was being attacked by, there was a civil war, essentially, wasn't there? There was the civil war. it's kind of interesting, isn't it, that like this painting, when you do those things to it, and it's not just like random things, turn it upside down, put them together. There's a picture of the butterfly in it. So you've got the two wings concept. The butterfly has the central piece, so you can take that out. Like, it kind of harkens to it. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe there's other things I'm missing, but it would be good if it didn't look like the devil. I mean, maybe the artist didn't think about this when they painted the picture and it's just an accident. But, you know, it could look like anything, therefore, if it was an accident, couldn't it? It literally could look like anything. And also, we've been a bit contrived because, like, if I undo that, I don't want to undo it, I want to keep it, don't I? Because it's the work I've done to leave it like that. But if I cut it, yeah, I can redo it and undo it, can't I? If I cut it and move it, wait, no, don't do that. If I make it bigger over here, make it smaller over here. Like, if I moved it on the other side, I don't think it would have the same effect, would it? Over there. Like, maybe I need to jig it around a bit more on the other side. But you know what I mean? It just feels like we've been a bit contrived insofar as like we're picking and choosing which bits we stick together and saying they make the picture. Because on the other side, it doesn't make such a good picture. Still makes a sort of face, doesn't it? Still a sort of weird facey thing, but I don't know what it is. Like, it doesn't make as good a picture anyway. So you have to choose the one side of it, and there's no indication that we should choose that particular side. But then there's no indication that you should stand any particular way with that other painting to look at the skull. It's just in there if you find it. Looks like wallpaper with the king's face and hands. His hands look creepy. When I saw the version on the TikTok, on the Twitter, they've obviously done the contrast, and his hands look really creepy because the white highlights come up as like, it almost looks like skeletal. Again, skeletal. Like, you can see it now where the way we've got it upside down, it's gone small, isn't it? You can see the hands look like little skeleton hands. And again, we're talking skulls, we're talking death symbol skeleton, like, so not ideal, I suppose. Like, it's those white highlights on the hands that do it. I'll tell you what, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but you turn that upside down, you cut out the middle bit and you move it over, it does look like a face, and it looks devilish. It does, it looks demonic. And then you couple that with the fact there's a tradition of Charles's kings having paintings made where you have to mess about with them to see the real picture. The butterfly you can add into the mix and say it's got two wings. Well, there's only one butterfly on the one side, so maybe we need to mirror it. You know, maybe it's a sign. You can see where they got this. Don't know what it means. I don't know if it means they really have painted the devil into it, or if it means, you know, a bit of coincidence. So he once said he'd love to. Well, that's true, Nigel. That's true. I can't read it out, but it's true. Actually, I don't know why I can't read it out. Well, I want to put this on YouTube, but it might make me look a nutter. What do you think? What do you think? Wait, I've talked about it all in chat, and I've been ignoring you a little bit in chat because, you know, listen, people, you're going to have to accept it. I'm focused on this, and I'm trying to deliver my brain speech. So sometimes if I read all the chat, I can't, my brain speech. But, you know, now I'm watching. We don't do a poll on Twitter. We don't have a poll. But is the painting real? 100%. Yeah, this is King Charles's portrait commissioned by King Charles' first official portrait since coronation is unveiled, painted by Jonathan Yeo. So it's absolutely 100%, million percent real. And the picture I got was from eBay, where they're selling prints of it. So
battery 50%.
Don't bark. catty. The catty. Marlo. Marlo, no, Marlo. Hey, Marlo. Marlo. Marlo, get here now. Marlo. Marlo, get here now. Hey, 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 Marlo. No. Marlo. Marlo, come here now. Marlo, get here now. Come here to your daddy. You'll be out in the back garden now. Peter Folding. Giving it the Peter Folding in the back garden. So what happened to this? Because this fucked up my edit as well for this. Now, I've forgotten to sign off and say, you be good if you can't be good to YouTube for this. And I can't leave all that dog running around in it. Like, what do we think about this? I was asking for your opinions on whether this is a deliberate painting of a devil in the painting, or if it's just an accident. The side with the devil face on is this side of it, I think. Yeah, it's this side, so it would have to be painted in this area deliberately. I mean, it's very easy to do. You just turn the canvas upside down and you just do it. Like, you even put it next to a mirror and you just do it. Very easy to do. And then all the background just looks like all this smudge and smur, and it just very easy to do, isn't it? I've seen artists that paint upside down. Wait, let me show you this. Okay, so obviously there's a minute still to go, and you know what's happening. He's applying paint.
All right, it's coming down to the wire. 15 seconds, D.
Come on. Give us a fire. Give us a color.
And you think, well, this doesn't look like anything. He's only got 2 seconds.
3, 2, 1. Let's hear it for D. Westry.
Okay, and there we go.
And then he turns it upside down and boom. And he didn't realise he was painting it upside down. So, that's really achievable. And one of the things, I'm going to let a little artistic secret out there that Alan should have learned, but he doesn't understand, is that he's painting in blocks of colour. So upside down, it does look like just meaningless garbage. Because to the untrained eye, you're not, you haven't seen it as a face. I mean, they haven't given you a close-up, they haven't given you an opportunity to see it as a face very well, because he's in the way as well. But do you know what I mean? It just looks like a smeary mess. But then once you've seen the face, once it's been turned upside down, and our eye turns 3 panels of colour into a face, you know what I mean? But the way it does that, bang, it's a face, isn't it? And it's a face now. So should we look at Alan's art upside down? Every artist should look at their art upside down, actually, because it's about balance and framing as well. And most artists that paint would do this routinely. As you're halfway through a piece, you might, or first of all, when you're doing the mapping out, you would turn it upside down and look at it, and then halfway through, and then towards the end as well, you'll look at it upside down. I think most artists do. I don't know, maybe they don't all like to do it, but there's a benefit to it, is because you see it as an abstract and you see the shapes and the colours and the space, and if it works upside down, it should work, the other way up. So if it's got that symmetry to it. So yeah, a lot of artists would look at their work upside down to abstract the view of it. So it's not uncommon for an artist to even work on a piece upside down. So this is a skill that's been translated into a bit of a stage show here, but actually it's just standard artistic skill, I think, because you're not, what it teaches you when you learn art, you learn that his face is not actually, a line round here and a line round here and a smile here. It's just blocks of colour, because of the light and because of the shade, every face is going to be, every face doesn't always have a red line for this. This is what Alan doesn't understand. His smile is not a red line across his mouth. It's dark red at the top. It's got a highlight there. It's got a red bit here. If you squint your eyes and forget that it's a mouth and a smile, it's just pieces of colour. And it's that layering of the colour and the shapes that creates the art, isn't it? So it's every possible possibility that the artist would have been able to flip this upside down while they're working, or even towards the end. Or it would have been done to the start, wouldn't it? You do the background in at the start. But then I suppose you go over it again at the end with these reds and some of these darker hues as well. It looks like the butterflies are even squashed into the canvas, over to the left. These scrapes of dark colour look like the butterfly scraped and squashed away. And it reminds me of El Greco, who painted light with this flare, this like line, and it made me think with El Greco, like what's insane about it to me. Famous for 1600, Francis of Assisi, yeah. Like when you see this live in person, the light shines through. Like, there's no, what I mean when I say the light shines through, I don't mean there's physical lights shining through it. What I mean is that the light at the top of the frame, the whites, they really stand out like bright, almost like they've been blown by. Like if you're shooting in a camera, you know, the whites, you know, you turn up the contrast and stuff, the whites can get a bit blown. The whites have just been almost like slightly blown here. Like you see these whites, and this is Francis of Assisi looking up to God. He's got stigmata on his hands, which is like a symbol of his own suffering in the same way as Jesus or some shit or whatever. There's the skull, so it's in there as well, in this one as well, interestingly. And this was done in 1600. What I really like when you zoom in and these lines on the light, like you see the brush strokes, like the sort of like the lines on the light in the clouds, and the way it's done here. See those like the brush strokes like that. When you stood in front of this, and especially on him here, look at this on his tunic. You see this on his tunic. These lines through it, right? On his tunic, it makes, and his face isn't as like there's some of that on there, but it's a bit more sharp on the face. There's that light in his eye there, the reflection, the light in his eye. To me, it's almost like a study in light and movement, and almost like photography. Like this is what baffles me about this painting. Baffles me about this painting. Like when I stood in front of it for the first time, I thought this is in the National Portrait Gallery of Ireland as well. I thought this is, or in Ireland's National Gallery, whatever you call it, right? I thought that this is like somebody who has seen a photograph. Like the movement in the tunic, like, you know, when you're taking a photograph, if you know about these things, you know, so I'm not going to explain too deeply, but shutter speed will indicate how sharp the image is, whether something's captured in time because the shutter went quickly and they're captured, or slow shutter speed and they move and there's a bit of a blur. There's a little bit of a blur. You can use it in your media. You can create photographs with blur, long exposures. It looks like the shutter speed has not been quick enough to not blur the tunic. The tunic has been blurred. The light has been, and that's what photography is. It's painting in light. And it looks like he's painted in light, like it's blurred because the shutter speed. Whereas other aspects of it have been caught like bang static, like absolutely static, like sharp, and other parts have been blurred with this movement of the almost like a shutter speed effect. And like he couldn't have seen a photograph could he have seen a photograph in 1600? I think it was, wasn't it? Hang on. Yeah, of course he couldn't. Not earliest photography, but you know, shutter speed and everything. But earliest photography, there'll be like some weird early examples with like silver and 1800s, yeah, 1800s. Light sensitive plates as well, yeah. They're like, you know, like, you know, cameras and stuff. Like he couldn't have seen what I see in this when he painted it. Like he couldn't have attempted to achieve that, could he? Like he's not seen photographs and cameras and shutter speeds, but the things that I see in it with my modern eye, you know, maybe it's just his attempt to create an image that, you know, maybe this was a soft texture or something. But what I see in it with my modern eye is that, and the movement of the cloud, and the, you know, invocation to God, and the brights that are blown, the almost like when you get a white that's too white in photography, it's not actually data, it's just white, you know, it's blown, it's too white, too bright, in the same way as when something's too dark you can't see it, when it's too bright you can't see it. That's the divine there. It gets too bright for you to see, like it's blown, it's white, and it stands out. The painting, like it's like a study in light, like I said, like it creates his face, dances off his cheekbones. It moves the clouds, and the way you see the brightness in the sky and the depths and the dark, you know, even the shadow of the skull, like all this shadowing in here, like it's all like smeared and different on the top of the rock, you know, dark, black. Like it's obviously painting is a study in light. All painting is, all photography is, but like the relationship between Assisi and God Like, you know, I don't know, like, it's a study in light. That's my perspective anyway. That's my stamping point on it. And I've been enough seen it, and I think it's brilliant. So there you go. That's that. What was I saying it for and about? Let's close some windows. Because we're looking at Portrait of King Charles, and I'm saying that these motions in the brush strokes in the background remind me of El Greco and that study in light, except I'm also saying that the butterfly, okay, so I'm talking about the butterfly and the way it's smeared into the background. I'm just gonna try, what I'm doing is I'm trying to make it bigger, so my brain is slowing down, so give me a second. You see in the background here, it's like this butterfly is created or not created. It's in the gloom, it's brush strokes, but that's a butterfly shape to me. It's like an echo of this one. And as it moves back and around behind the king's head, it's almost like a vortex swirl or something, isn't it? It's almost like it's swirling in, and like these butterflies, I'll just say, whether they're echoes of or or like the shadow of the butterfly, or the imagination that could become the butterfly. Which direction is this happening? If it's happening from, if it's entropy and it's breaking down and being smeared across into the background, it's almost like a wind that's carrying it away. Yeah, but actually the butterfly is almost the other way around, appearing to become, you know, to fly in, to land on his shoulder, isn't it? Like the butterfly is appearing to fly in. So could this be evocative of time having passed and the shadow of the past butterfly, or could it be something being created out of darkness, created out of the swirl, you know, created from the darkness, becoming a more crystalline and crisp image? And it's that same brushstroke, brushwork, that light, that craft, as I recognise from El Greco and their relationship with God. The light. But I see it here in this painting as being a relationship with darkness, because it's painted dark. And it's very gloomy, this image, you know. Talking about painting being created by light, you know, image being created by light. The light does pick out his face, you know, it does. Like, it is brighter on my monitor than maybe it appears to be on this. I'm looking at my monitor here, and then I'm looking at the one that I'm, you know, I don't know which monitor is displaying it in which correct, you know, brightness, but, you know, the whole image is a little bit, I mean, it's red. If it wasn't red, if it was a different colour, actually, if it was a darker blue, then it would look very dour, wouldn't it? You know, if it was a purple, a regal purple, it could end up looking very deep purple and dour. So they've kept it bright by using the pinks, by keeping those high tones, but all the details in a darker, you know, it's like red's evocative of blood, and like, I can see that, you know, people don't like the devil, it's bad, it's red. Like, there's a lot of depth to that red that has been alleviated by the pink, by the magenta, by the bright tone. So it's almost like a fight between light and dark in a way, to create an image that's not oppressive. We're talking about a king. We don't want the king to appear to be oppressive, do we? He's very, like, his face looks very, I don't want to, half smile as well, like, kind. Like, I recognise Charles as having a kind face, but this doesn't look like the kindest I've ever seen him. It's almost questioning, slightly condescending, and I see his mother in him so much these days. You know, these days more than ever, I see with the little bit of, like, if I pop just the top off it like that, yeah, and just wait, if I just pop the, like, pop the bottom and the top off, so just his eyes and the, you know, actually see it in the top half of his mouth a bit as well. But like Philip, you can see a bit there. You can strongly see Philip in this, can't you? But you can also sort of see his mother as well, can't you? Like the white hair tufted out at the sides. Like, that's what he looks like, a combination of his parents. But it's just interesting the way you can see it so more now. Like, I used to see him as his own person, as like Charles looks like Charles, the king looks like, sorry, the queen looks like the queen, and Philip. But now I see him very much more the combination of those two. I don't know why. I don't know how to explain that more than I can, but maybe that makes sense to somebody. You know, he very much looks like the Queen there now. I see the Queen in him so much more. And then when I think, but the bits that don't look like the Queen, I then see Prince Philip. And I've stopped seeing Charles in some way. It's weird. You think it's just a very strange painting? There's all, like, we could go on, and we probably, you know, can revisit it after I've done some learning, because I don't know what these things that are on the front of his chest. You know, there's obviously the medals, but I don't know if this is part of his dress uniform or if it's something else. I don't know the exact relationship of the emblems on the dress uniform. I assume this is just the standard dress uniform of it that he would wear. You know, I don't think they would have thrown in a random horsey or whatever. I think these would be all accounted for, all these emblems up the front. And I think there would be something to say about the work on the collars and the cuffs, like whether that number of buttons and things like that, whether it's militarily correct and all that. The sabre, again, it's a military item. There's the ring. You wanted to see the ring, didn't you, in chat? The ring on his pinky finger. Is it on his pinky finger? Hang on. I think it is. His hand looks ambiguously left or right there. I think it's on his pinky finger. It's certainly stuck on there, isn't it? It's certainly strongly on there. And of all the things, it's shining in a sort of gold, unlike the rest of everything else. It is like the ring does stand out in this. His face, like the artistic choice to make everything red apart from his hands, his face, the ring, and maybe the butterfly, like, means that his face stands out almost up to the neck in this shit. Do you know what I mean? His face stands out like he's floating in a sea, like just up to his neck in it. But it does make it a very striking and prominent portrait of him, that's of him, and everything else falls away, because it's the one thing that he really has that's his own, that's not everything else, is his own face. And I end up saying it looks like his mom and his Prince Philip, but everything else is sort of lost in the red, but the hands are left to stand out, not as much, and the ring stands out upon the hands. So it is, of all things, quite a standout item in the image. It seems to have a lattice work on it. I can't tell anything else other than that. You can't see the face of it, but it's gold. Yeah, we talked about photorealism the other day in the stream, about whether it's the most important aspect of art. But yeah, it's good art, like in terms of craft and quality, and in terms of a piece of art that makes you talk and think. Agreed, massively good. Unfortunately, the things we're talking and thinking about is Charles doing a painting of the devil or some weird shit. Like, we're questioning the legitimacy of the idea that you could turn it upside down, squash it together a bit with a mirror, and look at a picture. I mean, these days they know that you're going to do it on the internet. They know what you've just done. I don't know how long it takes to paint this, but they know what people did with Kate and with her pictures, you know, and her video, and looking into it and manipulating and turning it and colour and, you know, and all that, and photoshopping. So the idea that someone could flip it on a computer screen instead of having to turn it upside down as a canvas and cut a bit out and do that, you know, these days you don't have to have a cylindrical piece of metal to put on your table. You can just use the internet and flip it upside down and do this and that. So, like, it's a more simple anamorphic, what was it called? Anamorphosis. It's a more simple anamorphosis. It makes me look at this in a different light as well, because I don't know if this contains any anamorphosis or not. But all the cloud work and the leaning of Francis, I see it as leaning towards God, but the lean on him and the sky, who knows which paintings now, when you consider, like, I really think we should start turning a load of paintings upside down and moving them around, because there could be anamorphosis elsewhere. It could be accidental, or it could be deliberate, who knows. I'm going to reflect on this painting more than other paintings, because this is one that stood out so strongly in my life. So when I see things that stand out in parallel to it in other artworks, I come to it. You know, it's like having your favourite films. Oh, this is a bit like that Stanley Kubrick film. I'll reference it. But I don't know about every other piece of art, so I can't reference it. You know, I'm limited in what I know. But and I don't know loads about this. It's just that, you know, I've walked around some galleries and I like that one. But yeah, so commissioned in 2020. So 4 years to complete. That's me as a saint, is it? Saint Francis. I've got a family connection with the name Francis. My family name. I was going to say my family member exactly. I don't want to tell people because of the trolling. I don't want to tell people whose family names are what, but you know, my family member is. They're not called Francis. Well, anyway, I've got a connection with the name Francis. Yeah. Like, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to call one of my sons Francis. That wouldn't be strange. It would suit my family. Like, there's a couple of names that me, my cousin, my dad, his dad, you know, all of them have similar, you know, passed around. So, yeah. Frank. Scotty Frankie. Well, I'm not Lenny, am I, or whatever Alan thought I was, but... So he's been painting it for ages. So why was that relevant? There was something that was relevant about when he started painting it, wasn't there? How long he painted it for? How long it took? That I was going to say about. Oh yeah, whether the recent stuff with Kate and Photoshop mattered, you know, to the decision as to what to put in the image and how to put it in. Probably didn't if he started it 4 years ago. But then again, this could be added right at the end. Like, I suppose we should put the picture up again of it. I don't know what to say, really. Like, I think it's really interesting concepts. I'm happy to just explore them. Like, I'm not going to go to bed thinking that this artist has painted a devil picture of King Charles and that the devil's in charge. But equally, I'm not going to dispel the idea that it's completely... Like, I was ready to debunk that. I was ready to say, I've seen this funny video on TikTok, or I keep saying TikTok, on Twitter, and I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to turn the thing upside down. And I thought it wasn't going to work. Red Fan and everyone said it was debunked. And I thought, this is good, we'll just debunk it. But then when I squashed it together, it did fucking work. And then we've gone on this journey of, like, the truth of what's behind some art. And I guess more intellectual, like more people who know more about art would be able to tell me, or you, or all of us, maybe find a video about it and have a little watch. I've turned the background music off ages ago. I need to turn that back on. People who know more about art would actually know if there was any validity to any more, not just symbolism, I'm saying, not just symbolism, but the idea that royal portraiture should contain certain aspects of symbolism and anamorphicism. That's my new word for today. Anamorphosis, which means a distorted projection or perspective that requires the viewer to use maybe a device or to occupy a specific vantage point to reconstitute the image. So it's about hiding something in an image that everyone can see, but the viewers that understand, that are in on the trick, they get a different view of it. They know where to stand. They know what to do. They understand. And the reason in the past was because, in my opinion, what I remember learning, not what I've learned off the internet today, but in my opinion, what I've learned in the past, and I guess my opinion, is because it wasn't, there was, like, if someone came in your house when there was a persecution on the Christians and you had a big picture of Jesus up, then they'd murder you. So you had a strange painting that you couldn't tell was Jesus, and then you put a cup on it and you could see it was Jesus, or the king, or someone else, or whatever. It was a way of hiding something in plain sight, so that you could say to yourself, I've got my painting of this up, and like, because the king was considered divine. Like, when they had the Civil War, it wasn't just, should we have a royal family? Well, I think we should make our own rules. You know, I'm in favour of democracy. It was the king was divine, put there by God. If you don't want the royal family, you're going against God. And this was back in the day when, like, you know, secularization hadn't taken over. God was pretty important in people's lives. Like, you're going against God. So the idea that you would be persecuted for standing by God, like, imagine a society where they were going to get rid of the king. Like, not like our society where no one would give a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, but where, which God? By Christian God. like Church of England Christian God. The king is appointed by like divine portent. It's like if you were in Charles I, Alexa, when was Charles I king?
Charles V reigned as the King of Spain for 39 years.
Alexa,
14th of March.
Charles I of England, reign.
Charles I was King of England, Scotland, and Ireland from the 27th of March 1625 until his execution in 1649.
Okay, so in 1625, God was everything. Like, you know what I mean? Christianity and God, like, you know, if you went and said, nah, fuck it, I don't believe in God, like, just don't think so, science is my bag, like, people would have been like, no, you're heretic, it's bad. Like, do you know what I mean? It was like pretty much serious stuff. Like, so to have a society that said, we're going to take God's representative off the throne and fucking cut his head off, and we're going to just have our own rights and rules. Like, there was politics behind it. Like, there was a sort of sense of, you know, we should not be, you know, but this was on the table, like I can't express it big enough. This was on the table, like, those that thought it through, you know, you're arguing to go against God, to cut the man's head off, to, you know, establish a republic. Like, some people didn't want that. Like, there was a war where families would kill each other, like, not just row around the dinner table, have a row around the dinner table, but they went to war. Like, and some people literally in the same household marched off to the same battlefield in different costume. When they got there, they took up arms against each other. Like, it's hardwired into my knowledge of my local area as well, because the Battle of Edge Hill was local to me. So yeah, I learned about this stuff when I was younger, and I sort of like thought deeply about it. Imagine that, like, having to decide whether you should go against God or the people around you who believe otherwise, and, you know, there being enough of a sort of 50-50 for it to become a sort of literal civil war. If he's the head of the Church of England, you flip it, that's good above evil, and like, it's, yeah, it gets, you know, have different opinions on it if you want. Like, I say different, I mean all sorts of opinions on it. I just know that, like, the way that they installed the Church of England was because Henry VIII didn't want to have, he wanted to shag around and have different wives and change rules. And like, this is why you can't trust the Bible, isn't it? Because, like, people just change things in it when they're in charge. But like, Henry VIII, he was, he basically said, look, I'm appointed by God, so I'm going to be the head of the church, and I'm going to start calling the shots. What are you going to do about it? And like, we had a like division of the church, didn't we? So now we've got the Church of England. He pulled down monasteries. Again, he pulled down monasteries. Like, could you imagine, back in the day, you live near a monastery. Like, back then, the monastery's like this massive institution. It's like the biggest thing in the environment. It's this huge building. All the monks are really important. They do festivals. They provide things that they trade, like products they make, and like, some people aspire to becoming a monk. And then Henry VIII decides that, fuck God, I'm going to burn it down. I'm God now. Like, I mean, it must have been a fucking weird time. Very Game of Thrones, like, and people's beliefs. You know, you wouldn't have been able to say, no, don't be silly, all this nonsense. Come over and let's have a look at this physics book. Like, there was none of that. There was no internet. It was just like beliefs, and people believed in witches and all sorts. Like, you know, like, grim old days, aren't they? And at the time, they must have thought they were fairly modern. Even then, like, every age, every generation would have thought they were the most modern one. Like, top of the, like, before us, they used to do things in a silly way, but now we're really modern. It would have been madness. Anyway, yeah. So the I don't know what I was saying. I was saying during that time, if you had a painting of the king because you felt that it was the right thing to do because you was respectful of God, and someone was going to come in your house and, like, you know, have a go about it, maybe burn it down because of the Civil War, like, you might just have it on the secret, but you really would still have it. It's like having that, you know, that cross in a locket that you hide away and no one can take it from you because it's your symbol of your truth to God. So, like, some people felt very strongly about royalism, you know, back then. I mean, people are royalists today because they like to wave a flag and they think the royals do very good things for the economy or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, or they've got a sense of tradition and ceremony. Like, royalists back in the day with the Civil War, they were concerned that people were going to cut God's head off. Interesting, yeah, good. Here's a shout, right? Is there any Christian symbology in the image? Oh, that's a good shout. Is there? I don't see anything Christian in the image. I don't see it. Like, he is supposed to be like strongly part of this, like, still to this day, you know, the story of being the king is that anointment from God, and we've done the ceremony and he's been and done it, but I don't, in this particular portrait, I don't see anything Christian. I need to get, maybe I should just phone up the artist and see what he's saying, Jonathan Yeo. I see a picture of Jonathan Yeo now and he'll do paintings of, like, you know, devils and shit, and you'll be like, oh no. Jonathan Yeo. Who's this? Interestingly, he does this sort of art. Now I'm seeing it, you know, I'm seeing that portraiture, those blocks of colour, you know, I'm seeing it. This Clara Devine, what's her name? Del Vigini. This one, her face standing out from the image with all the pink, that's the precursor to it. Absolutely is. You know, without this, there is not that. It's interesting, there's a grid pattern on this. I don't know if that's been placed on afterwards or he worked to it. I'm assuming it's been placed on afterwards for some reason, like to make a point. I'm seeing that brush strokes, the same sort of brush strokes I was talking about, the El Greco. The combination of a sort of more traditional soft blending of colour to create a more traditional portraiture work that you might see hung in the National Gallery, and a very modern use of tone and texture to juxtapose against it. I understand. I see what's happening. Yeah, obviously I don't think Clara Devine has got much symbolism in it, but that's one of his works and I see it. These more downplayed images, and that's Prince Philip, isn't it? So he's already painted Philip, but it's a more downplayed image in terms of the collection of colour. But he's done a similar thing. He's done it in a different way. The background here has got all this work in it though. Look, like the hair's become part of the background, you could say. You know, the brush strokes, the softness to it all, and then what stands out in this is the face, but he's done it in this almost mosaic tile pattern of colours. So instead of it being more softly blended like Clara Devine was, more traditionally blended, he's gone for a more modern. Traditional and modern are just words, aren't they? You know, I'm not talking about eras of art or anything, but it's a much more, it's almost like a graffiti artist in a way, but like those blocks of colour, that's what art is, it's fine, but a more palette knife effect to create this this face. I mean, is it reptilian? Like, does that, I mean, I'm just saying things that as they look, but it looks reptilian. It looks like scales or facets of a cut diamond. Like, it's like facets of a cut gem, which makes me think of stone and gems, like the way the light plays off his head here. But it also makes me think of reptilian scales. It's the eyes that have the softness, that have the blend and the softness, that we've stopped doing that block colour. The eyes are there, but this face is almost like something else around it. And then we've got that third texture, the softness at the very back, the darkness and the dourness, and here in the collar and down, you know, it's cut off by the way you're seeing it, but in the collar and down, it's all soft touch, it's all blend and soft. But this has been, the lights hit it and it's shining like a sort of refractive cut stone, or like scales. Like, it's a really high quality piece of work, absolutely. But what we're saying, like, I'm still really cautious of this, is that we're talking about portraiture. I mean, I don't know if this was commissioned. I don't know if this is just a choice. But we're talking about portraiture of royals and proper artists who create portraiture of royals. Interestingly, there's a spot of red on his head there. Like a really weird scuff of red. Maybe he'd bumped his head for the day he sat for the portrait and he painted it in, but a scuff of red just there. Which stands out when you stand back from it. It mirrors the red in his cheek as well. But yeah, the choices and the idea that, I mean, I'm assuming this is Prince Philip, isn't it? Like, from what I can see, like the choices and the symbolism that every other portrait of the royals has been thick with, this seems to be absent of, and yet I think subtly there are those choices, insofar as this image also lacks this lacks really religious or even royal symbolism, like, and that's a problem, because like that's a statement. Like, he's got a tie on and a suit. Like, this is definitely Prince Philip, isn't it? Yeah, it's HRH, the Duke of Edinburgh, Jonathan Yeo. Yes, 100% it is. Is it commissioned? Hang on. Jonathan Yeo. Oil on Canvas, 2008. National Portrait Gallery. The Lowry, Manchester. I mean, he's top bins, isn't he? I don't know if it's commissioned or not. Here's the process, look. It almost looks more finished as part of the process. Like, it almost looks like it's like the blending the colour, because it's bigger panels, looks like it works better, because like the smaller panels of those cut glass facets, as though they're really interesting, they look less finished, like, but blended and whatever. But you know, that's the process. I'm really intrigued. Like, is that commissioned by the royals? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm assuming the king's one is, like, hang on, first official portrait, so that must be commissioned if it's an official portrait. It's not that this guy's painted it and Charles has said, thanks, I'd take that and make it my official portrait. This is, I would like you to paint me as a portrait for my first official portrait. I will sit for you, and then please give it me and I'll put it up. How long has Charles been king? 4 years? He had it started when he was a prince. That doesn't make sense to me. I mean, obviously his mother might die, so get the painting started, but like, really? This will be my first official painting as king. Start it now. We'll release it when I'm king. Like, that seems weird, doesn't it? I'm only taking it from what you said in chat, that he had it going for 4 years. Like, maybe that's not a fact. I need to be careful about that, don't I? No offense to you in chat, but, like, you know, I'm saying it on the internet. I'm the one saying it on the internet. I do trust you, though. I've been going off it as if it's a fact, so. Oh, he's talking to the artist here about these things in this article. Okay, hang on. The cat's making a problem. Oosh. Oosh. I'll read through this article and we'll have a look at it, because, you know, just talking to the artist, so fuck it, we'll look at it. And then we'll make our final decisions on this. And, I mean, there won't be any final decisions from me. It's got a bit cold, hasn't it, all of a sudden? There won't be any... Oh, yeah, boom. There won't be any decisions from me. I'll leave that to you, I suppose. I'll just, like, say things. I find it really strange that they should make the start of the painting when he was the prince, and it should be his first... Maybe... Wait. I've got to eat something, some Starvis. Maybe they started the painting when he was prince as a painting of him, and then he became the king, and they said, well, this painting's going to be of the king now, because you're the king now, so it is what it is. You know, maybe they didn't know he was going to be king and commission it as his first... You know, maybe it was just in process, so maybe that's not awful. Because I want to eat something and I want to hear what is being said in this article. Haven't they got a way of... Isn't there a button that plays it for you? Like there is in some... No. Okay. I'm just going to put it in the speaking spell. Do some speaking spell. And I will mute my mic while I eat the crisps. So... What am I looking for? Text to speech. All right, let's get this party started.
The first official painted portrait of King Charles III since his coronation has been unveiled at Buckingham Palace. The vast oil on canvas shows a larger-than-life King Charles in the uniform of the Welsh Guards. The vivid red work, measuring about 8 feet 6 inches by 6 feet 6 inches, is by Jonathan Yeo, who has also painted Tony Blair, Sir David Attenborough, and Malala Yousafzai. Queen Camilla is said to have looked at the painting and told Yeo, "Yes, you've got him." In the new portrait, the king is depicted, sword in hand, with a butterfly landing on his shoulder. Unveilings are always a little nerve-wracking, both for the sitter and the artist, but particularly when one of them is a king. Yeo jokes, "If this was seen as treasonous, I could literally pay for it with my head, which would be an appropriate way for a portrait painter to die to have their head removed." In reality, Yeo isn't going to lose his head. Of course, no executions for a badly received portrait of a monarch, in modern times anyway. Fortunately, he has also already had a nod of approval from a key royal figure. The Queen dropped in during the final sitting and said the artist had captured the king well. Yeo says the best judge of a portrait is someone who knows your sitter really well, because they have instant recognition of whether it feels familiar. The king also got a glimpse of it, says Yeo, in its half-done state. He was initially mildly surprised by the strong color, but otherwise, he seemed to be smiling approvingly. It is a vibrant painting. The king was made regimental colonel in the Welsh Guards in 1975. In the picture, the red of the uniform fades into the red background, bringing the king's face into even more prominence. Yeo says he wanted the painting to be distinctive and a break with the past. He was aiming for something personal. "My interest is really in figuring out who someone is and trying to get that on a canvas." Yeo decided to use some of the traditions of royal portraiture, the military outfit, the sword, but aimed to achieve something more modern, particularly with the deep color and the butterfly. He says he's referencing the tradition of official royal portraits, but suggesting that's something from the past, and what's interesting about them is something a bit different from that. In history of art, the butterfly symbolizes metamorphosis and rebirth. He explains, fitting for a portrait being painted of a monarch who has recently ascended to the throne. The butterfly is also a reference to the king's long-held interest in the environment, causes he has championed most of his life, and certainly long before they became a mainstream conversation. Yeo says it was Charles's idea after they talked about the opportunity they had to tell a story with the portrait. "I said, when school children are looking at this in 200 years, and they're looking at the who's who of the monarchs, what clues can you give them?" He said, "What about a butterfly landing on my shoulder?" Yeo began the portrait when Charles was still Prince of Wales, with the first sitting at Highgrove in June 2021. The king sat 4 times in all, for about an hour at a time, with the final sitting at Clarence House in November 2023. Did the artist notice any obvious change in the man after he became king? Yeo says he's spotted a physical change in politicians he's painted in the past. They physically look and feel different when they're in high office or out of it. Yeo adds the king had already been gaining presence and stature by the time I started it, and it went up a level again when he became king, as you'd expect. The sittings ended before the king's cancer was diagnosed. He had a lot going on, says Yeo, with an upcoming speech at the CP summit, but didn't seem like someone who was physically exhausted. He was in good spirits, the painter adds. King Charles posed in his full Welsh Guards uniform and had to stand leaning on his sword for around 40 minutes each time. He stood impressively still and didn't get distracted like some sitters do.
He stood impressively still, and didn't get distracted like some sitters do. Yeo won't reveal much of what they talked about during sittings, although he says Charles III has a great sense of humor and is a very engaging person. His interest in art meant Charles wanted to discuss the process of creating the work and the brushes being used. They also talked about how he'd learned to paint and about some of the pictures on the walls. But Yeo says there's a sanctity to the portrait process. Your sitters need to believe what goes on is between the two of you, because that way I think they feel more comfortable about opening up. Royal portraits in the past have had an important role to play in signifying power and projecting an image. They were part of the tools used to ensure the survival of the monarch. Some of the most memorable include Henry VIII by Hans Holbein the Younger. The Tudor king employed Holbein as court artist, although only 2 portraits survive. But Yeo says our relationship with royalty has shifted since those days. On the one hand, we know they're real people with quirks and personality traits. We've seen that much more of them. On the other hand, we still want to buy into the mysticism and the fairy tale that they are different from us, that there's a bit of magic there. In his portrait, he was trying to figure out how to do both at once. Painting a portrait of this size was quite an operation, says Yeo. Having used his first sittings with the king for photographs and sketches, he did most of the painting between the 3rd and 4th sittings. He then had to hire a truck to transport the canvas and his equipment to Client's house for the last time he saw the king. As well as easel, painting tables and lighting, they had to cover all the carpets in sheets so we didn't damage these priceless carpets. Yeo also brought a dais, a sort of platform, for me to stand on so I was up high enough to paint his face, and one for him to stand on so that he's on a level as well. The artist claims not to have been interested in getting involved in the rigid formality of royal portraiture previously. But as he turned 50, he began to think about how you have to see how you measure up against the works of the past. The portrait was commissioned by the Drapers Company, the City of London livery company which has been collecting royal portraits for centuries. His painting will go up in Drapers Hall in London surrounded by a dozen other fabulous, similarly huge portraits of Queen Victoria and various other kings and queens. For him, painting Charles III was different from most previous commissions, where you start from scratch. All my life I'd known who he was and what he looked like, so it was really just a case of deciding what to show and trying to slightly channel who he seems to be now. He deliberately minimized the visual distractions in his portrait to allow people to connect with the human being underneath. There's a great deal of sympathy for the king, Yeo adds. The portrait reflects exactly who he is, everything he represents and what he's been through. The portrait will go on public display at the Philip Mould Gallery in London from the 16th of May until the 14th of June. It will be displayed at Drapers Hall from the end of August.
Oosh. Right. So, what we just learned from listening to that speak and spell, this article talking to the man who made the painting in the BBC, was that he totally understands all that history. He totally understands all that symbolism. Like, it's all built into the painting. He asked Charles for examples of where he wanted to build the symbolism in. Charles suggested the butterfly. But, it seems that there was more than that, wasn't there? The choice of the colour, trying to humanise him, the dance between the human and the mystic, long sittings, conversations between the two. We also heard, well, I think they signed an NDA. I think he said, like, you know, what's going on between the artist and the sitter, that stays between them, so the person who's being painted gets a sense that they can open up. Like, it's not that, it's an NDA. Nothing that you discuss with the king will be discussed in public. If you want to paint the king, sign the contract. You know, that's an NDA, isn't it? But obviously a lot was discussed in terms of the ability to use the painting to connect with the public as well. Maybe there's other things that aren't being told to us in that interview, you know. Right? This interview is for the public, the painting is for... It's interesting. I'll tell you what's really interesting is the painting occupies two roles. Like, well, not two, it occupies many roles, doesn't it? It has many functions. He literally said in that interview that in 200 years' time, and if you imagine this, imagine you get to paint a portrait of the king, and you know that in 200 years' time there'll be kids looking at it well, you hope in 200 years' time there'll be kids looking at it in the National Gallery. 40 minutes each sitting, yeah. It's quite a long time to sit with the king. Like, you can have a good chat with him, I think. Maybe not hours and hours, I suppose, but, you know, it's quite a long time to sit, you know, just sit with someone and talk to them, isn't it? 40 minutes. It's like as much time as I would get to do a wash and blow dry with someone. I would have a good chat with them. Tend to have a good chat with people over 40 minutes, yeah. Decent enough time to have a bit of a chat. Flying Freddy says, Drapers Hall, one of the guilds. You'd imagine they would historically have a lot of ties to Masonic lodges. Is it? Was it? I didn't know about that. Basically, knowing that you're going to keep this painting around for a long time, like, the painting occupies these different functions. For one, it's going to be a new painting that the current that we get to see. It's in the news now. It's going to be seen by us, the public, and we're going to make our opinions and judgments on it. We're going to have a comment on it. We're going to like it, not like it, whatever. We're going to see it. But also, like they said, it's to create an effect on those that see it and a relationship with the king. And in the past, it might have been different reasons, but here we're trying to humanise and to... Charles was careful that he wanted to be seen as a human, a normal person, you know, just another person, but not to lose that sense of mystique, that dance of the divine, you know, the regal, and to also be seen as the damn king. Like, you know, it's a funny dance, isn't it? Like, you know, these days you see the royals, you see William and Kate, and people say they're very down to earth, they're very nice people, you know, we like them, they're nice, down to earth. Like, you don't like all this pomp and ceremony and, you know, and all this business. But at the same time, it's the fucking king and it's divine, and it's like, if you get away from that divinity, this mystique, then you lose what it is to be divine and royal, and you're just posh people who have got a lot of money. So then what's the point in having a royal family? Like, so it is important to hold on to that, to maintain the royal family only exists, as we've seen through history, by merit of the population not revolting against them and cutting off their heads and abandoning them. Like, if everyone in the country just decided to fuck them off, they just get fucked off. Like, if it's, well, this is opinion, I guess. It's either divine and then it's not opinion, God did it, so they are the royal family because of God. Or if you don't believe in God and things like that, then it's just a happenstance that they became the royal family and they're just normal people like everyone else. And it's just a social contrivance, a social construct, and therefore we can abandon it. Like, we can just get rid of it. It just means nothing. Like, okay, you might want the tourism, you like the history. Are they positioned there because God has come down, not come down from heaven, but has God given them the divine right to be royal? Does it mean that they are God's hand on earth? Like, are they more, because the king is closer to God than I am. He's the fucking king, and God has kinged him. Divine, yeah? Is it that, or is it the other thing where he's just a normal person and it's all made up? And if that's the case, do you believe in God properly? Because in our country, if you believe in God properly, it's written into the fucking not the Constitution, but the Church of England is that whole. I've just discussed it earlier. Me personally, I would argue that the institutions are not as important as the divinity. So no, it can't be the case that God has decided to install divinity on earth, like in an institution that rules over a country. Like, that would seem weird. It seems to go against the principles of, like, the religion and the God that I believe in. So maybe no, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. When I was young, when I was a kid, as I said earlier, I'd have been a royalist. I'd have said, well, it's the king, innit? You know, God must have wanted it that way because that's the way it is. And that's how they use religion as a social control. So I don't believe in that. But I do believe in God. But I don't believe in that. So, like, you know, this is the same, you know, it's the same battle as the Civil War, but you have to have it in your own mind and heart, and you have to have your own strong faith about it. And our society is, this really goes deep into our everything here. Our society is predicated on, I hope I'm not using music, I bet I've already done it now, I bet these songs that you can hear in the background are from fucking games that, let's have chill Splatoon music. No, it's got a beat. I just want relaxing. Why don't they ever give me like relaxing music that's non-copyright game music, please? Thank you. So this goes to the core of our society, though. Secularization or no. Secularization meaning that we just don't have religion around so much anymore. Not into God stuff. We're a heathen society, and we are. You know, we are now. Just a random one. 2019 Humanists UK, so maybe they've got a position on it, but more people are non-religious than religious all combined. Christianity is the biggest religion in our country, but there's not that many people who are Christian compared to non-religious these days. That's the general pie chart. That's 2019 particular pie chart. This is a different one. Different pie chart, so you're going to get a different pie chart depending on who's doing the poll and who wants you to think what. So don't trust YouGov, because YouGov is Nadeem Zahawi telling you what to think. So don't trust that. This is 18 to 24-year-olds, different, but they're not religious. More so, you know, that's the secularization of society. If you'd done that poll, that picture, if you'd done that back in Henry VIII's days, it would have been very religious. Very. Do you know what I mean? Maybe it wouldn't. You know, maybe the average person didn't really give a shit, but I think they did, from what I've learned. So that's our society these days. But we're still talking about this man sits atop the throne by divine right. Divine right. And he wants to paint this picture to create a relationship between the way the people see him. This is the National Portrait. It's going to go in the gallery. The people aren't going to go in the National Portrait Gallery. They don't give a shit. Not only are they not religious, they're fucking not thinking. Are they? They're not cognizant. They're watching Coronation Street and eating chicken nuggets. So they don't care. You've got to win the battle of hearts and minds in a different place than portrait galleries these days. So this goes back to what I was saying. Listen, this comes back. It comes back. It comes back to what I'm saying, which is that the purpose of this picture, the purpose of this picture in the past would have been to sit massively in a big gallery, and the real people that matter, the rich people, can go and see it. The paupers and the peasants, it doesn't matter what they think about the king, because the king will come and cut their head off. Like, they did paupers and the peasants back then, it didn't matter. Do you know what I mean? The people are revolting. Well, you know, throw another bucket of water on them. I can smell them, yeah. Like, you know what I mean? The people are revolting. It didn't matter as much, did it? But, like, nowadays, like, the portrait of the king isn't... They've discussed it in the article. It's there to create a relationship between the king and the people, to inform people's opinions, to shape the narrative, to create that relation. You know, it's an interesting device, but it doesn't carry the same weight and gravitas as it would have done in the past. So who is it really for? What is it really for in that, you know, mechanism? Will it create that conversation? We're having it now. We are literally having it now. But will it create that conversation in the general population without the BBC pushing it? No, not at all. But okay, it's been in the news a bit. People have talked about it. But what I mean is, no, it'll go into an art gallery and the sophisticated people will go and look at it. The highbrow people will go and look at it. But the great unwashed, the general population, you know, I'm not obviously saying that I am I am also one of the great unwashed. I am also one of the general population, of course. I'm not trying to create a divide between me and you here. Like, not you unwashed chuffer. But you know what I mean? We're also sophisticated people, some of us. Thank you very much. But what I'm saying is that this, I don't think it serves the purpose to create that conversation amongst the general population, the general public. I don't think it really does, because they don't give a shit. They don't go in the art gallery. They just don't give a shit. So that conversation is being had between people who care about whether Meghan Markle is a robot or Kate Middleton is a artificial intelligence or whatever, isn't it? That's the general population talking about the royal family. And so that battle of hearts and minds has totally been won, because Meghan Markle is an evil person and they hate her. But contrast to that, they think that William is a really great guy and Kate is good, and they'll make a good couple, they'll make good royals. So you set bad royals against good royals, and now you think the good ones are the good ones. And lucky, because they're going to be the king and the queen. So you're going to support them, thanks. That's a different battle of hearts and minds in the modern era amongst people who are non-secular. Sorry, people who are secular, non-religious. Like, so you can't argue to those people that it's good to have King William because he's divine, put in by God, because they don't care, because they don't think about God. So you have to give them a better reason, a different reason why it would be. And for that, it's a more logic-based argument, isn't it? And also hearts and minds. Like, hearts and minds. So his mother was Diana. She's a lovely person. He's a great guy. He does all this stuff for charity. Like, you know, they won this battle of... I mean, he is a good guy. I do think he is genuinely a good guy. But they've appealed to the public. They're like, his life is a series of PR moves to make sure that when he gets on the throne, nobody cuts off his head and says he's useless and we don't want him. That's been going on for royals since they cut off King Charles's head. It's been going on for a long time. A series of PR moves to make sure that you are, like, loved and beloved by the populace, so that they don't cut off your head, isn't it? It's just what I'm saying. Okay, so going back to this thing about roles. But I really like what you're saying in chat as well. I love the fact that you've got this intelligent chat going on. I mean, obviously, me and Green's just put those pictures of that face, but no, I'm only kidding with you, me and Green. But, like, you know, there's some really interesting things going on in chat as well. So I'm sorry if I'm not picking up on everything. Because I've, you know, all my words are rambling out, and there's loads of stuff going on as well. But I will pick out this that you said. He doesn't want to be seen. He doesn't want to be seen as weak. You think he feels weak after disclosing the cancer diagnosis, so he wants to be seen as powerful. That's interesting. From Ordbod there. All of you are saying interesting things. I wish Eamon Holmes was king. King Eamon Holmes of Ireland. Yeah. So, like, the role of this painting. I want to make sure I finish this thought, which is a massive thought, but the role of this painting is to sit in the British National Gallery and be there in 200 years. In my opinion, based on the words of the person that painted it and their reflection on history, they believe this is a chance at immortality for them as an artist and the king, and it is. This is what will be there in 200 years. He won't be, I won't be, you won't be, this will. And school children will walk past it and have thoughts. It's a statue, isn't it? That's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool to be able to create it at work and know that. Like, imagine if you're writing a book, like, you hope people are going to buy it or read it. He's like, this is going in the National Gallery. Like in 200 years' time, people are going to walk past this and just stop and think. So, not only do I want to do a really good job on it, but as an artist, as a producer of a piece of work, to know that it's going to occupy that situation, that place, means that you understand its role in history. So what you're painting isn't just maybe about the relationship between this king and the public as a PR move, as it might have been some point in the past. It wouldn't have just been that, of course. I've said all this stuff. Of course, it occupies lots of roles. But the role to like create this work for history, to sort of, I suppose, make this statement about who's in charge. Yeah. Again, I like taking it back to, like, I'm going to sound like a fucking nutter. I love it. I love it though. It's fun. I'm going to sound like a nutter, but it's fun, right? It's just thoughts, ideas, stories, isn't it? Going back to this, like, it does make a fucking statement, doesn't it? About who's in charge. People have spotted that. Scary statement. What I mean by statement about who's in charge, I mean, in 200 years' time, you're going to look at this painting and say, okay, just to give it a read from upside down, just a quick read from upside down. Wait, where's my camera? Let's give it a read. Let's turn the world upside down. I'll give you a reading from upside down. All right. So this is not me. This is upside down world in the White Room. This is not me. But wait, do it. This isn't me. This is upside down world. Okay. Right. But from upside down world, right? It could give the statement in 200 years' time that the devil was in charge. So fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, keeping everyone in the know about what was going on, couldn't it? Am I right, upside down? Woo, woo. But you know what I mean? Like, if that, everything they, like, to give it this read, to give this some credence, if they've put subversive images in there, the butterfly signifies the symmetry of the painting, which is absent. So you create the symmetry and then you see this third picture. Got it? Okay. That's anamorphosis. Got it? Okay. That's in paintings about these art. Like that's one of those things that's historical. The painter has sat with Charles and they've talked about historical aspects of regal paintings. It's my guess that Charles himself has some awareness of how his ancestors have been painted. If anyone's going to be interested in royal portraiture, it's the fucking king. My guess is that Charles himself will also be interested in how other royal Charleses have existed, because it's his name. And as a young boy, I think he would have been interested in King Charles Senior. So he might even be aware of this anamorphicism. I may have even discussed it with the artist. That's a potential. They might have discussed how in years to come they're going to make a statement about who's in charge. So like, ergo this. Like, it fits. Like, if you want to tell that story in that way, it fits. It's scariest, but it fits. You think it's pareidolia? Well, it doesn't exist if you don't turn it upside down and put them together like that. So, I don't know if you like. I don't know what the word is for fashioning something until it looks like a face. Like, pareidolia is seeing a face in an object that, you know, the object exists, or the abstract exists, and you see the face. Like, your brain does it. But I don't know, because here we've had to, like, we've made the face. Like, we've squashed the things together until it looks like a face. And it's, I don't know if you joined us a little bit late, but we had to cut a piece out the middle to create it as well. It doesn't make a perfect face unless you mess with it a bit. But that, cutting the bit out, that's fair enough, because there's a middle part to the butterfly that obfuscates the perfect symmetry unless you remove it. So, like, the signs are there. And I'll tell you what as well, just me chit-chatting again. Whoops. There's not much else in this. They've sat together and they've discussed about symbolism. They've discussed about its place in history, all these things. I think that the red and the pink is a really strong motif, isn't it? Obviously. And we've seen about how his Clara Divine portrait helps the face to stand out. So he's got that idea. He's come into this room with that idea. I'm going to paint Charles, his face, and this border of colour behind him. I've done it with pink before. You know, that's the standout. That's where we're starting off. That's me as an artist. That's my thing that I'm going to do that's going to really stand out, and that's why I'm doing this. I'm the artist that does the face with the standing out behind. We'll add the whole body to it, and we've made the decision to create that stand out with the hands a bit, but drift the body into the blur of the pinks and the reds. Okay? Like, fair enough. Like, usually he's a portrait artist that deals with the top half like that. So he's had to extend it down. And I don't know if he's so strong in this part of the painting. You know, if this is not just sort of like, you know, remember as well, we've seen that picture of him doing it and it's massive. Like, it's really big. So in his mind, like, and my mind, like, my opinion of it is that as an artist who usually does this top part more, like his mental focus, the face, they've drawn attention to it. That's the big bit for him. And the lower half of the frame, you know, I imagine him standing back and looking up at it and seeing the face and looking up at this part, and the lower half being not less important, but less important, you know, like less focused. And it's in the frame, it's a part of the painting, it is important. You're not going to say, I'm going to do a painting, the bottom half doesn't matter, so I won't do it very well. Like, you might as well cut it off then, eh? But he's painted it, it's there, it's full frame, full length. Not full length, there's no legs, but you know what I mean? Like, it gives you that full uniform effect. So it's all in there, but the face is obviously, we said about floating in a sea, because it's like, the attention is drawn on it. I imagine when you see it in person, because it's bigger, that will still stand out as a big, like, you probably look at it, and the way your eyes see it, is you'll see that more than you'll see this whole big pattern of, like, you know, this maybe. I don't know, like, I'd need to go and stand in front of it now and have a good look. But yeah, and also in the portrait gallery, you're not going to be turning it upside down and putting it next to a version of itself with a mirror. So that's never going to happen in the portrait gallery. There are other hues and tones to it underneath here. There's a yellow and there's a brown to it, as if underneath, and it's as if this pink has been painted on top. The lipstick pink down here as well, like the sort of lipstick nail varnish pink, very striking. There's not so many things that, you know, and for Camilla to come in as well. Right, okay, so Camilla, the queen, apparently came in, and there's a lot of yellows in here. There's a lot of yellows in here as well. Very interesting, that is. It's almost like there was something on it in the background before, and he's added to it with all this pink on top. It's like pink's the final flourish. I'm like it, go and see it. I might do, yeah. I might do. When you see how big the painting is, and then we see the upside down, it looks like it's done on purpose. Let's have a quick look. Now, I mean, that's three of them put together. Obviously, there was only one of them in reality, and I've put two of them together to make the face. And I don't know. But yeah, like, I mean, obviously, everything in the frame is done on purpose. This is something that we've learned, is they've really thought carefully about it. Okay, like, I don't understand this, actually. I'd have to know. I'd have to know from doing. But I guess there's an abstract haphazard nature to this background. So you just sort of do the abstract haphazard. But I've seen Alan's abstract haphazard and it looks shit. So I think when you're a top artist, it looks abstract and haphazard, but there's a lot of thought that's gone into it to make it look just abstract and haphazard, is my guess. It's not just, oh, I've got a bit of pink on the brush, I'll clean it off in that area. You know, it's standing back, I need some more here. The way this moves here, I need a bit more there. Like, you know, it's actually thought, isn't it? But with the brush strokes and the intent, the size and all that, like at some point when you're painting like this, like, and you go like da-da-da, da-da, da-da-da, like you lose a sense of hard control. You're not doing like the face is photorealism almost. It's very, you know, detailed. It's not photorealism, but it's, you know, it's detailed and it's, you know, take your time and get the brush strokes right. But in the background area, you think it's not, don't you? You think it's more just, you know, move it around. And like, if you do that and you make a random sort of stroke, is that okay for going in the National Portrait Gallery for 200 years, 500 years, forever? A bit of a random bit here, a bit of a random bit there. It doesn't matter, it's only the background. I don't think it is. I think that there would even be more thought to, like, even if it looks haphazard, and even if the actions and marks that create it are not fully in control or controlled, it looks like there's some drip to some of the paint. It looks like on the left-hand side, which my face is covering, it even looks like there's some. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. You know, again, I'd have to see it in the reality, but it looks like even some lines of, you know, dripping down. Like, there are things that you can't be in control of if you're being haphazard and abstract, or you can make it look like that by being in control. So my guess is it's more controlled than haphazard and abstract. But the neon bubblegum pink is so weird to me. And like, I was going to move on to this point. It was drips. Yes, Scott. You think it's drips. So yeah, if you're going to allow, like, this is what okay, so drips, you're not in control of them. So it's not an artist making a stroke. It's a randomness. And you're going to allow that aspect of randomness on your painting for the National Portrait Gallery forever. It can be a feature of creation of art, obviously. But I would be so reticent for two reasons. One, it could go wrong and it could be random and it's not so good. I'd want it to be perfect. And two, you know, you're abandoning some aspect of your own artistry to just allow randomness to finish off the background because, you know, clean the brush off. Like, so are these not choices then? And then that's going in the gallery. But I thought you thought really carefully about all the choices, you know. This pink, let's talk about the pink, right? Here, 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 here. When Camilla walked in and saw the painting, apparently, she said to the artist, yes, you've really caught him. Yeah, meaning this looks just like Charles. That's how I see him. She didn't say, oh my God, why is it so pink? Does Charles like pink? Is pink a big favourite colour of his? Is he often seen surrounded by neon bubblegum pinkness? Because that's the striking thing. Red, they talk about red and magenta. Like, obviously, cyan, magenta, yellow, rather than blue, red, yellow. Like, talking primary colours, like in terms of photography, cinematography, artistry, like, you know, naming colours. I think we're talking magenta rather than red, and so that counts pink. Like, that counts. You know, it's a whiter, brighter red. Red ranges into the purple range when you add blue, or you go the other way and you add yellow and it becomes more orange. So where does pink come from? Well, it's a more bright, vibrant, not deep, and like depth in terms of dark and light. You know, it's a lighter, vibrant, brighter, almost neon here as well though. Magenta. We have got a little bit of purple off his elbow there. Some blue has crept in. But otherwise, there is no blue in this. Like, there's a little bit of green in there, little green blue. And obviously in this face, you know, there's a lot of cool tone to his face, which helps with the contrast. The reason his face stands out against all this pink is because it's more muted blues and greens and greys, which are on the colour wheel, they're the opposite colour to the magenta. So it helps with the contrast. Maybe that's the choice for this pink, is what's the most contrasting with his face. I don't know, your faces are pink, aren't they? But no, like, look, there's deep browns and like muted greys, and we're in cool tone territory, and the opposite is this warm tone brightness. Like, and he's already explored that with Clara Delevingne or whatever her name is. Maybe he's decided to really make that stand out. So the pink is the natural choice. Like, you can't do this with green against this face. It wouldn't stand out in the same way. That's colour theory. It just is. But and also it drains from the face. Like, the amount of bright pink here next to this face drains the rosy tones from the face when you see it. When you see a colour and it's surrounded by another colour, it changes how you see the colour. So it will change the way you see the face. So maybe that's simply, an artistic... Well, it can't simply be an artistic choice in that nature, but it is an artistic choice. And this uniform, as we know, is red. But yeah, like, what I find so standout is, yeah, you're right, Mountain Windsurf. It's very interesting. Having this conversation is what art's about. Unfortunately, I think I'm asking the question because of a prompt on, I keep saying Twitter, TikTok, which one is it? X. I'll just say X, it's easier to remember. Because of a tweet on X, Twitter. Because of a tweet on Twitter, I thought I was going to debunk the idea that this painting was turn upside down and I thought I was going to turn it upside down, push it together. It wouldn't really look like a face. I thought you were going to have to mess with the colour and mess it about, but actually it looked quite a lot like a face. So, I mean, do you think... Here's a question for you in chat, all of you. Do you think that the royal portrait man, Jonathan Yeo, do you think he should turn his painting upside down and check this before he puts it out there, just in case it looks like the devil? Like, do you think he should have checked for that? Because I think maybe he should have, like, if they're considering every possibility in these sort of things and all the symbolism, they might want to read into the symbolism that might be seen, that might be, you know... Do you think he did it deliberately, or do you think he didn't know? Do you think now he's seen that, he's going, oh my God, if I'd have known that, I'd have put some other stuff there and just scribbled that out. I don't want it to look like that. Do you think he knew? That's a question. Do you think they know it's going to happen? I think they know it's going to be messed with and, like, prodded and poked and, you know, observed, and someone's going to say, what happens if you turn it upside down? What happens if you look over here? And I think he would have turned it upside down at one point and looked at his canvas upside down. I mean, it's a big canvas to move, so maybe not. But smaller canvases, like I said, most artists do that. Right? It's the blood and the slaughter by the British Empire, maybe so. Although Charles didn't do any of that. Oh, there's me again. Charles didn't do any of that. I know the aspect that's really intriguing me the more I'm looking at it is how this background is bordered by this yellow, and there's a yellow to it here. It's almost like there was something painted in the background in yellow, or yellow muted tones or whatever, like a bookshelf or some shit, and it's just been hammered over with this pink, this magenta. It's very floral, isn't it, the pinks as well? It's very feminine. And when Camilla walked in, she didn't say, oh my God, it's pink. Like, she said, you've caught him, which makes me feel like either the pink is more familiar to her in relationship with Charles, or she just thinks it looks snazzy and she's just like, wow, you've really caught him, and all this pink as well. But like, Red Devil by the horns, maybe communism. Yeah, I think the reason communism and the red menace and all that, Russia's flag is red, isn't it, and all that. So America was able to rope all those things together and throw communism in with the devil, but. In an old interview, Charles said about Vlad the Impaler or Dracula being his ancestor. Did he? Fucking hell. Ooh. It does have a very Bram Stoker's Dracula feel to it, doesn't it? Are we saying that... Like, wouldn't it be funny if everyone thought that they were doing the adrenochrome and... What do you call him? Bob... What's his name in America, the president? Sleepy Joe Biden. If Joe Biden was a robot and all this, and actually they were putting out those conspiracies about lizards and nonsense to cover for the fact they were actually vampires. Or just one or two vampires, because they don't need to load of them. Like, they just need to go away for a bit and then come back as a new person later when they look younger again, after they've fed or something. I don't know how it works. Like, do they need to go into a new host? No, they don't, do they? I thought that when Kate went into hospital, I thought they were all going to say that because she went into hospital, Prince Philip died around the same time. Didn't they put Prince Philip's brain into her body after? Because she's had the royal children now, so she's now just a common woman who's had the children. She's not necessarily royal or anything. She's not useful. No, you don't need her. You've had the children. Then it's time to get your brain out and put Prince Philip's brain in, and then he can live in your body, and then you can just, like, you know, be the queen. Like, I thought they had to pass the brain on to the next generation. Or the Rothschild brain, that was it. Not Prince Philip, the Rothschilds. Wasn't there a Rothschild who died? And I was like, well, they would have... I'm joking, like, you know, but for conspiracy jokes, like, they were going to get the Rothschild brain in her body or some shit. Admit Audacity says its layers of colour started with the lightest first being yellow and red, creating a deliberate colour. Do they start with the lightest? Yeah, I suppose they do, don't they? And move up to the darkest. Well, no, the brightest. That's what you say about lightest, but the brightest, lightest, in my opinion, the final colourings that have been applied. I mean, I'd have to see. Are the lightest, whitest pinks, but also this magenta. Like, that looks like it's globbed on top of everything. And the darkest of this butterfly, in some ways, is overlapped by some of those clumsier strokes in a slight way. So it feels like that brightest pink has gone on very much at the end of the magenta. Here as well, it feels like that patch is, or it might be wrong, it might be the way I'm seeing it, it might be this more soft pink is on top of that. I'd have to go and see it live to see it, but it's just the way I see it and feel it. You know how you get nail varnish and it's stuck on a surface? It feels like that to me. And like the more muted tones almost look like scratched away underneath. This sash is very clever because it's much more earthy tones, but it's still in the register of red. But when you zoom in on some of those colours, like, you know, when you do colour pick a tool, and you're like, colour pick a tool on that, and it's like a dark brown, and you're like, what? It's not, it's red. It's like, but you know, because like, I really like the work in the sash to create that contrast. The way that you would pick the colours and talk about them, but when you zoomed in on them, they would be different colours. The hands are very still massively intriguing. That white work on the hands. Hands are very difficult to do though, aren't they? And you talk about years to come, National Portrait Gallery and stuff, but that hand looks a bit rough and clumsy. Like if I was the artist, I'd be less happy with that hand. Is there a ring on the other pinky finger as well there? Is that a ring as well, or is it his knuckle? But this hand looks a bit like, maybe it's how his hands actually look though, so you can't critique too heavily, can you? Hands are difficult though. I don't know when to stop talking about this now. How long have I been on stream? Look, 4 hours. I bet we've been talking about this for like 3 hours. Where do you think I should put this? Here's a question for you. Where should I put that? Should I put that on Super Chuffer? It's kind of Super Chuffery. It's kind of like mysterious, and it's kind of like intriguing, psychological art. I used to do art history lesson channel lesson. I was interested in art history, so I was going to talk about every piece of art from art history, starting from the very earliest, and we got started and we did a bit of it. You know, I've done some art history streams on Super Chuffer, but it doesn't really fit with the current content of today. But Super Chuffer, yeah. It's just a weird video though, isn't it? Maybe I'll just put it on Super Chuffer. It's come from this Twitch stream. It's exactly the sort of thing that we do here. A free-ranging conversation that's turned into something really interesting that should probably go onto the internet. I've got no firm conclusions. I'd rather ask the audience what they think, having explored all these ideas, than... like one of the beautiful things about art is it doesn't have to be... well, the joke of it, I suppose, I was going to say, it doesn't have to be like set in stone, but obviously statues are made of stone sometimes. But, you know, the ideas can be just questions that, like, unlike a mystery true crime thing where you go and ask 100 questions and never get anywhere and it makes me cross because aren't you supposed to be getting somewhere? This is starting somewhere really solid and using it to create a million questions that take you out into, like, you know, philosophical space, isn't it? So I haven't got any answers. Like, I don't go to bed believing this is a symbol of the Masons, and I don't go to bed believing this wasn't in there at all. It's just made up and it's silly. Like, I don't know the answer. One thing's for sure, it is in the image. If you turn the image upside down and you move the image together like that, cut out the middle bit, there's a little bit in the middle that doesn't work. You know, there's a little bit on his arm that you have to squash it together a bit more. But once you've done that, it 100% looks like a fucking weird face with horns on it. Like a dog face. It does do. Actually, when I say 100%, it could be better. Actually, let's really critique this for a minute. Let's make sure that I've got this on, because I don't want to lead people down a stupid, like, you know, and just say have whatever ideas you want, like, when I actually think maybe... Let's really critique this and be a bit more real, just before I leave you off with nightmares, though. Hang on, let me zoom and let me find where you are. Why did the zoom do that to me? Right, yeah, the eyes, like, the dark patch of the eyes here that helps, like, eyes are created by, again, we're talking about patches of shade and colour. You can see the king's eyes. Just now he's upside down. It's dark and it's light, isn't it? Yeah, it doesn't look so much like eyes anymore. It's just dark patches and light patches. The eyes here, the dark patch comes down like that. Pressed on it. Can I get a better pointer? It comes down like that, the dark patch. It's not under and round as much. And like this nose and snout, the mouth panel, it's not, I wouldn't say it's very clear. like, I think this shape gives you all that. And I'm saying the dog eye, like, I see a dog, I see a goat, I see, you know, all this weird shit, but I don't see a very clear and like these, what would you call that? The eye sockets, the shape of that. I've never seen anything with that shape before, like properly like that. Like, it looks like the artist is a very skilled artist. So to create this strange image in there, and when you squash it together, it looks like this and all that. You'd think a couple of little details could have been done a bit better to really make that work. And I'm having to do a lot of the work with my imagination, to be honest. I'm having to do a lot of pareidolia, like whether it is pareidolia or not, to see something in that's been constructed, as I was saying earlier. It probably is, but I'm having to do a lot of it to really make it work, aren't I? Like, really, like a couple of brush strokes here and there, and that's just totally gone. Let's try it. Let me just take the, I don't know, the lightness of this. But then I suppose that's what it's about, isn't it? Like, you know, a couple of brush strokes here and there, and it's gone. Well, there you go. Like, that's watercolor brush. Like, if I just do this, like over there, like that, then that eye is just basically gone now, isn't it? Like, that dark patch, like, it's just gone. So now it's no longer a devil at all, because you haven't got the eyes at all, and it's gone. I'd have to do it on both sides because it's reflective of both sides. But just simply, like, you know, that, I mean, it's very hard to, yeah, it still looks a bit like the devil, actually, I suppose, but, you know, there's not much to make it that, is it? I suppose the grade's quite a lot. It's the shoulders really work for us, doesn't it? The shoulders, let's get rid of the shoulders a bit. The shoulders and that. Starting to lose it. There's not much to create it, there's not much to lose it. I don't know. There's a cow lower down. Do you mean there's a cow lower down in the image when it's the right way up? Or do you mean there's something you can see lower down here? I think there's almost like a cat face at the top, but it's upside down. When you look at it like this in the mirror and stuff, right, the colours stand out incredibly now. We thought it was just red and pinks, but now when it's upside down and we've done the mirror, you get such a range of colour now. You've been looking at it for a while. Like, within that short range of colours, there's such a wide range of colour, isn't there? So many different reds and pinks. And down here, there's that yellow and the green, and, like, you know, I'm surprised about how colourful it really is now. Upside down as well with the hands, I really feel that sense of skeletal frailty to the hands. Very strange. Two triangles, a cow's eyes. What, over here? It's like one of those Rorschach tests now. We're going to see all sorts of things. Your art teacher told us that sometimes the line you don't put in helps the person looking see an image better. Yeah. When you say right side, do you mean over here, this thing? Do you mean this thing? Yeah, like I said, it doesn't make a face at all. But what you're saying, okay, wait. What you're saying is that there's like an eye here, an eye here. This is the cow's nose, like that. These are the cow horns. That's a cow. Yeah. Because I was saying that you'd have to reflect it on both sides, because one side would be one thing, one side would be nothing, and why bother? But the other side is something. It's a cow, a big meat-faced cow. I mean, that would fit with my reading on the idea that they force us to eat animals. Like, get this, right? Vegan, I could spin new stories and like have fun if you want, but people say, you know, I'm not saying this is my beliefs. I'm saying this is fun stories. But imagine that they had to try and convince you all to eat dead animals, and that's wrong, and it's against the Bible. But instead, they rewrote the Bible a little bit, changed it a bit to say, well, the Lord is the shepherd, and you shall lie down, so that means you should eat a cow. What if Jesus was vegan, and it said it in the Bible, but they took it out? And someone could use this and do the Da Vinci Code again. Like, yeah, maybe it's that, you know, poor cows. But I see what you're saying. There's like a sort of bovine structure to this like this, with these eyes here, like that, and then these are the cow's nose, sort of like a big cow face like that. The bull. Why do I think it fits as well? Like, for there to be a bull. Why does that seem acceptable to me in terms of Satanism? What is it about that? I suppose the slaughtering of the cow, the Lord is my shepherd. I don't know. Shepherd's about sheep anyway. There's very much a sort of meaty quality to this face as well. Like to the colours now. When you think of it like that, there's a very much a raw, meaty quality to the whole thing, isn't there? Like a very raw meat. Do you say below the nostrils were eyes? I'll tell you something else I sort of see. Just following this line is I see this part here as like a back. I see this part as like the haunch or the buttocks of what you could say is like a lady's. Look, like that. And then it's almost like the arms are bent back here, but like shoulder blades, like almost like the arms have been bent back and torn, like pulled backwards like that. Torn backwards. And then I actually see the ears of maybe a pig here. Obviously humans and pigs are very, like, imagine that's the back of a, it's like, this is doing Faces in Clouds pareidolia, but like this is the back end of a pig, like the pig's back, the back of the head. You're looking down at the top of the back of the pig. Like, that's the lats on the side there. And this is the back haunch. The shoulder blades in here. And, like, you see what I'm saying? Looking down at the back of a pig. Just like pareidolia, isn't it? Because you could say it's like a lava lamp, look. So it's a lava lamp. Oh, you could say a lot, you know, you could make whatever you want out of stuff. That could get on with pareidolia. Look, this is Darth Vader, but his head's really tall and up like that. But it's Darth Vader, look now. But with an arrow. But these shapes here, I think they do look a bit like pig's ears. But and so over here we're saying this is the sort of devil's horns, isn't it? And this is your dog head devil. And the devil eyes. And the nose. It's almost very what's the name of that film? Donnie Darko. No, it's getting ridiculous. I know. Well, that's I tried to make it ridiculous to say, you know, don't get too carried away and think this is the truth. Like, if you can make a picture of a teapot in there, then don't think it means everything about tea. Like, just because there's some faces in the clouds, don't think you should lose your mind. You know, I'm just giving counterbalance to what I'm saying in a way by making myself look stupid and paranoid. But I'm not paranoid. I'm saying, you know, again, playing the role of the host who's investigating the ideas. Like, for anyone who wants to try and mess with the way I present things and twist it, but now, as much as you could say this is a picture of Baal, the devil, right? Therefore, oh wait, I've done a really bad one. As if I can accept, people would say, like, this shout now goes to the people that think it really is the devil and think it really is, like, you know, all this shit and Masons and whatever, yeah? If they think that's real Satanism and the devil, right? Then what about all the rest of it? And what, like, surely they don't just stop at, there's the devil. Like, what's the devil up to? We've got all these things next to it, the medals, these emblems that are on the, the costume. They're there. I believe that there must be other things to draw out. Like, this stands out to me, is the way that you've got these like upside down faces like this now, like a pair of testicles underneath at the bottom, like on his shoulders. That's, the face stands out as being like stupidly, what's it doing there? But I'll tell you what as well, you know, on that painting we looked at before, the two fellas with the skull in the middle, and the skull was all like that at the bottom, and it just was like, what's it doing there? Now that looks really like that. It looks a lot like that, like strange detail upside down at the bottom. But yeah, I suppose this sash cuts off, like that's that sash that's been worn, that cuts off this section. I'm trying to just draw some lines here to sort of see if I'm, you know, what am I looking at? I'm seeing a really meaty quality to it all of a sudden when I see it upside down like this, as panels and patches of colour like that. I'm seeing real meaty, fleshy, pink. You know, the ball here on this side of the cow, whatever, looks like skinned flesh, you know, like you see in The Butcher. There's another face underneath. What do you mean down here? Like a sort of mouth here, strange eyes, or maybe eyes. What do you mean that? Were mirrors used to create it? No, not explicitly, not mentioned explicitly, no, but the reason that we suggest that, no, I'm going to say that the idea that this could be looked at in this way, upside down, with a mirror, whatever, that is implicit in the fact that you're a portrait artist dealing with King Charles, and everything I said earlier, the anamorphius, what was it called? Anamorphosis, the idea that people painted pictures of King Charles with anamorphosis in the past would not have eluded these people, would have probably been mentioned just at least in passing once in 3 sittings, surely. No, I looked into the King Charles I paintings, and obviously very notable for the anamorphosis paintings, maybe. Tell you what, when you do it like this as well, side by side, okay, here's another one. I can't believe I keep throwing these out there. I should be in Martin Leaker's group of conspiracy nutters. I'd make a really good conspiracy nutter leader, wouldn't I? If it ever goes wrong on the internet, I can always just lean on that and make up conspiracies. But this figure here, check this out, you're going to like this. You're going to like this. This is going to float your boat now, right? This figure here, you're saying this is like the bad devil man, yeah? And there's like these two faces. And I was saying the face reminded me of both the king and the queen. Sorry, Prince Philip and the queen, you know, 2 faces in one. But when you do this parallel next to it, like the bovine face over here, and I really strongly, like, if I'm going to spin a thing like this, I'm really going to throw this out there. I'm going to say you shouldn't be eating dead animals, and they forced you to do it, and it's a horrible thing that they've got you to do, and they've even convinced you that the Bible tells you that the Lord is your shepherd, and you should lie down in green pastures and enjoy your dinner, and enjoy being murdered. Like, but this almost looks like a veil, like this triangle section, like a pyramid hat or something, like shapes of a pig's ear and stuff. But doesn't it like almost look like a sort of bride and groom situation? Like, doesn't it, like, you know, don't you get like a pairing? Isn't there almost like a pairing here that we're seeing? It reminds me of playing cards as well. You know how in playing cards, the king and the queen, you turn it upside down, and the king and the queen on a playing card, it's the same upside down as it is the right way up. And like the two pictures sit into each other like that, so that when you turn them upside, it reminds me of that. And it looks like a pair, it looks like a duo, it looks like a bride and a groom. Horse groom. But doesn't it? It looks like a, do you know what I'm saying? It looks like they're stood next to each other, and you've got this one's the king, the prince, the male, and this one's the female, the cow. Like, I suppose she wouldn't have horns, would she? Because do female cows have horns, or is that just bulls? But like, you know, almost like a sort of veil, a sort of almost like a wedding picture, like stood next to each other like that, and created by the inversion of the three kings inverted like that. 1, 2, 3. 3 inverted kings create 2 regal devils or some shit. I suppose you could continue that along and there'd just be a whole row of them forever, wouldn't there? But you need 3 inverted kings to create the 2. Like 3 wise men, yeah. Don't get too confused. Camilla and Charles, though, isn't it? Yeah. Like, Camilla came in and had a look at it as well, didn't she? She was mentioned a number of times in the article. But don't have nightmares. This is just fantastical stories based on a picture of this thing upside down and drawing some lines around it. It's just a bit of fun. This is what they're saying about it, isn't it? So, you know, tell you what I don't see either. I mean, I want to say I don't see it, but then I'm thinking maybe I do see it. Like, I was going to say I don't see any like other symbolism of the bad occult and like, I don't know, like pentagrams or Satanism, but then I don't really know what I'm looking for, do I, as well? Like, how would I know if I don't see them? Because I don't see them, because I don't know what I'm looking for. I bet the bad Masons would look at this and be like, oh, look, there's that symbol of the occult. There's that bad pentagram. When you turn that upside down, it looks like one of those bad symbols of the occult again. Yeah, it's entertainment only. I have to stop talking about it in a minute and play Genshin Impact. I think it's going to end up on Super Chuffer then. I mean, it's going to be like a 5-hour episode. I don't know what you even think about it, like whether people think it's any good or not as content. Like, it's all out of my own brain. I started out with the TikTok and, sorry, the tweet, and was going to debunk it, and then it's just gone this way. I noticed, like, some of the chuffers that were in earlier for the debunking have probably gone a bit quiet in the chat. They probably think I'm nuts. You've not done a very good job on that debunking. You've made it sound even more worrisome. You've made it sound even worse. You've not debunked it. If anything, you've bunked it. Rather than debunking it, you've bunked it. That's bad. I didn't want to be bunking it. I was trying to debunk it. Fuck. Look, because the green screen on my top now, I'm getting red on me. I don't like it. It's scary. It'll make a good video, yeah. Hopefully. I can see the comments now, though. You believe... That's it, then. Stream just took a bunk. Didn't it? That's one of my windows. ChatGPT is one of my windows. Hang on. That's that one. And then, what was the other thing we were looking at? We had paint open, didn't we? Doody. We're finished with this now, so I'm saying this at the end. This has ruined the edit for me. Thanks. I've got to edit the bit where the dog... I've got to edit out the bit where the dog ran out of the house as well. Yeah, overall, I was saying opinions are like arseholes. Everyone is one. So enjoy having your thoughts about that. I was just saying as well, I'll put this up. You said in chat it's going to make a good episode, and I was like, can you still see me? Can you still hear me? I'm back now. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Did it work? Am I back? Should be back, yeah. Yeah, I'm back. I'm not going to stop the stream after I've finished talking about this. I'm just going to end it for YouTube, if you know what I mean. Yeah, everyone's an arsehole. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone is one. So everyone's going to have opinions on this. I'm not landing any like firm ideas. I'm not trying to... It's for entertainment. It's for fun. And it might not be very fun. But it's really interesting. And I was going to say something else about it, one more thing about it, but oh yeah, I can see the comments now on YouTube. I don't know if that was cut off or not. But I was saying I can see the comments like, you know, he believes this, he believes that, he's a nutter. He thinks that the Satanists, or don't you know it's the Masons, or like you finally got onto it, you finally spotted it, and like, you know, everyone's going to seemingly want to hem me into a particular opinion simply because I've spent ages talking about stuff on the internet. But yeah, I'm open-minded to the idea that like this is just frivolity. But if it turned out tomorrow that the artist came out and said, well, you know, busted, turns out Baphomet is in that, yes, and in 200 years it'll be hung upside down in the National Gallery, and all the children going past will be looking at it on their way to the furnaces. Where they'll be shoveling coal in, probably. I don't know what, but you know what I mean. Like, okay, then I would be like, well, you know, fair enough. Then we saw that. Look, it looks like it. So I could believe either, really. They're going to think the Masons. Who knows? Who knows? It's just what was going on. It's really interesting. I'll tell you what, as well. I keep saying it's really interesting, but to me, it is really interesting for so many different ways. The idea that we've got a national portrait of the king. And that's good. It's interesting. It's a piece of art. We should, as society, when big public pieces of art are commissioned and unveiled, we should have an opinion. Like, hopefully we should enjoy it. We should like it. It should be a good thing. And then it's really interesting to me that conversation that came to me through social media, I probably saw this on the news, new portrait of the king. It's very red, isn't it? Okay, anyway. Like, maybe they wanted me to talk about it even more because they got it into my head through social media now. These bad Masons or whatever. But like, you know, then it came to me through social media that it's turn it upside down and it's the devil. And like, what a world we live in today, to this day. You know? So it's interesting. Like the whole, everything from it got commissioned and painted to there's a dude on the internet saying that it's got a picture of the devil in it. Like, that is all interesting. So I find it interesting, yeah. If anyone else knows any other, if you're watching this on YouTube and you feel compelled to write things in chat, like, you know, you've watched the whole video, so you've had your chance, really. Now's not the time, it's a bit late. Should have been doing that earlier. You missed your opportunity now, so I'd get in there quick if I were you. All right, I'm going to sign this off for YouTube and then we'll do something else on the stream, all right? You be good, and if you can't be good, you're naughty. All right. Is that enough for you then, Peter Folding? Have I done my good job for the Masons now then? Because I can't be arsed with doing Masons work all the time, Peter. I've got to get back on with my own stuff. I know Luke's rubbish. Can't you use Luke next time, though? He can do it. I don't want to do it. I don't like it. I mean, they'll think I'm in the Masons now. No, don't worry. I've muted the mic. They can't hear. Hello? Busted. He said send Peter back to the garden. The dog got up and left. The dog's got up and chased, like, you're talking to him. Where's he gone? He's gone. The dog's got up and left.
Big up demon holes. 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 John Wedger, it's time to get wet. Wet.
मुक्ति देगी काली माँ